The Bible says, "Fill your hungry soul with what's good." When we eat, we share, we grow. Every meal is a chance to be fed and to feed someone else. Life is like cooking. When it works, it doesn't matter if the process is fancy or simple. Good food and a life well lived comes down to how much heart you put in. Welcome back. We're already in the month of May, and this month we're focusing on some Mexican food recipes. That is my all-time favorite type of food. I could eat it every day, and I'm so excited to share the next 4 weeks of recipes with you. But we kind of all know that these aren't really authentic Mexican recipes. They're Americanized versions of them, maybe toned down, here or there with the spices and things like that. It's not going to be the same kind of food that if you actually went to Mexico that you would actually be eating. It would be very, very different. But that brings me to an interesting idea that as I was preparing these recipes to share with you, I got to thinking about how sometimes the outward differences can be so vast. And if we choose to focus on that, the appearance can be that we have nothing in common, that we are so very different, whether it happens to be the color of our skin or our cultural backgrounds or any number of things. But the reality is that we are all the same. We are all connected. We are all God's children, and we are all part of that oneness throughout the universe. And so sometimes when I'm struggling to find something in common with somebody, and usually it's a particularly difficult personality that I have to deal with in my life, or we all have those times when somebody is not clicking with you and you don't understand them. But I think in those times it's important to pull back a little bit and think about sameness. Think about what you do have in common. Find that love, find that kindness, and go forward with that. Find the similarities. When my kids were little, it was their most favorite thing in the world to be the same as somebody. So if we had the same color shirt on, or if we were eating the same thing, they would often, their little faces would look up and they would be like, "Oh, Mommy, we have the same." And they were so excited that we were alike. And so I encourage you to think about that when you're meeting these challenges in your everyday life, to find that oneness, to find that sameness, and go forward in love and in kindness. And I guarantee you'll be richer for it. So let's get started making this vegan avocado tortilla soup. So the first thing that we want to do is add about a tablespoon or so of olive oil to a heavy bottomed soup pot. So you want to take 6 green onions, and these have been pre-rinsed and washed and everything, all that stuff. But we're gonna just do all of the white parts and all of the green parts, all of it goes in. I'm gonna add all of these to the pot. And it doesn't have to be a precise cut, it can just be a rough cut, because we're gonna end up blending all of these veggies together. The next thing that we wanna do is we wanna take half of a jalapeno. And as you can see, it has all the seeds and the veins in there. And we don't want this soup especially spicy, so we're gonna take the seeds and the veins out. That's where all your spice is coming from. Now, if you want it spicy, like really spicy, you can leave all of these seeds in, and that's gonna give you a really good spicy soup. But for today, we're gonna make it on the milder side. And remember, once you're done working with the seeds and getting them all out and everything like that, and you have it all clean, do not touch your eyes, do not touch your face, because you will burn your eyes if you touch them afterwards. So make sure you wash your hands really, really well, because all the oils from the seeds with the capsaicin, that's what's gonna stay on your hands. So try not to touch your face until you've washed your hands really well. Next, we wanna add 2 Roma tomatoes. I like using Roma tomatoes because they're a little bit sweeter and a little bit easier to work with and to break down. I also like to de-seed them and take the seeds out because the seeds can kind of make the soup bitter. But that's another plus of the Roma, is that they don't have a lot of seeds usually. After you're done de-seeding the tomatoes, just give them a rough chop and add them right to your pot. Now it's over to the stove on a medium-low heat to get these veggies cooking. We're gonna add some olive oil and 1 package of the Beyond chicken strips. To the veggies that are cooking, we're gonna add 1/2 teaspoon of cumin. And we're also going to add garlic. The chicken is gonna go in at the very end. It's the last ingredient that we add to the soup. So we just wanna make sure that it's really nice and brown, but it is also kind of shredded and in little pieces so that you're not overwhelmed with a big piece when you eat your soup. When your veggies are completely softened and they're starting to cook in their own juices, then we wanna add our no chicken stock. So as our veggies and our stock is simmering away on the stove, we're finished browning our chicken, and the next step is that we want to prepare kind of the final steps. So now we're going to cut our avocados and prepare some cilantro and the lime. I like to just make one long cut all the way around and then just twist off the top. And sometimes the seed will fall out. You can kind of just take it out. Oh, and this one is a good one. And then what you'll want to do is just get your spoon and then scrape it out. And so that's what we're going to do when we go over to the stove. We'll just scrape it right into the stock because we're going to blend it all together. Now this one, the seed does not want to come out. So what you're going to want to do is put your avocado down and just give it a little bit of a hit with your knife. Just like that. Give it a little bit of a twist with your knife and then out it comes. Now we want just a little bit of cilantro, so I always just like to take the very top off. And that looks about right. So just give it a rough chop. If you don't like cilantro, you can always omit this part. You don't need to have it. Sometimes people really don't like cilantro. It can taste like soap to some folks. So if they don't like it, or if your crew doesn't like it, just don't add it. Then we just want to cut 1/2 of a lime because we're going to squeeze it right over our pot on the stove. We're not going to even mess with squeezing it here and then dirtying in another dish. We're just going to squeeze it right over. Now that this has had time to cook for about 20 minutes or so, we're going to add our avocado. Now if you have a stick blender, you want to go ahead and blend this all together, or you can take it off of the stove and use a regular blender. Now we want to add our finishing touches, so we're going to do the juice of 1/2 of a lime. Then we're going to add all of our cooked chicken and the cilantro. Give it a stir, and we're ready to serve. Now if you want to keep this completely vegan, simply add the tortilla chips and a little bit of pico de gallo to garnish, and you're good to go. But if you're a vegetarian and you want to add a little bit more creaminess to it, you can add jack cheese and a little bit of sour cream.
Thanks for watching. You can find the full recipe in the description box below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel.